Hey guys, welcome back to Cheat Day Sports. Sorry for missing yesterday. I was a little under the weather, but we're back. We're at it. Tomorrow, Saturday, we got some college football going on. Um, but tonight we have some games going on tonight in the American Conference and in the Pac-12. So let's just get right into that. Um, First game we'll look at is South Florida and UTSA. And this game's I don't think this is going to be tough. UTSA has really run the American conference this year. I don't see this game being close. I know South Florida played Bama closer in the third week of the season earlier this year, but these two teams have gone. Alabama and USF have gone two totally separate directions. Alabama looks like one of the best teams in the country now, and South Florida's just kind of meh. So I'm going to take UTSA in this one. The over under, I think that's fine, and to UTSA 15-point favorite, that sounds about right. But this Colorado Washington State game, I think could be a shootout. I know Washington State has really struggled as of late. I mean, Colorado's 1-6, but they've been in some games, and Washington State has lost some games. I mean, they lost to Stanford, they lost to Arizona State. Some games where I thought they would have just worked each of those teams. It's just with everything that's going on with Colorado right now, still the offensive coordinator situation going on. I see this being a shootout. I could see like a 30 or 38-35 game. I'm going to take Colorado in this one. I just think they've shown, I know they both, when it gets into crunch time, they haven't came away with the wins that they've needed. But this is a pivotal game for both of these teams because you win this game, both of them have tough road games. Next week, Colorado goes to Utah, and I'm not sure if Washington State goes to Washington, but that's going to be a tough game for Washington State. So this is a big game for both of these teams to try to be able to get bowl eligible for the year. I know the game's up in Pullman. It's at Washington State. I don't see Washington State winning this game, though. I think it will be a shootout. I think Cam Ward's a really good quarterback. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the country. Same with Shador. I just think Colorado has more athletes. They don't have the depth. I mean, neither of these teams really have the depth to compete with the top tier of the Pac-12. But with these two teams, I just think Colorado is going to be a little too athletic for Washington State. So I'm going to take them. I think Washington State, I'm surprised that they're a 4-point favorite. I thought it would have been Colorado being the favorite, but give me Colorado for that to cover, the +4 underdog. But yeah, I have 5 big games that I want to talk about. The first one I want to talk about is Rutgers and Penn State. Penn State, coming off they have 2 losses on the year to Ohio State and Michigan, the 2 top dogs in the East of the Big Ten. And Rutgers, they got beat up when they played Michigan, but I could see Rutgers making an upset in this because they did lead. We got to remember when they played Ohio State, they were leading, 9-7 at halftime. And they were just running that Montague, however you say the running back's name for Rutgers, just ran all over Ohio State. They did lose to Iowa. It was 22-0, but I mean, Iowa's defense is one of the best in the country this year. The only reason they're not winning some of these games is because they have no offense. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rutgers pulls off the upset in this. I mean, it is at Penn State, which is a huge, that stadium is insane. And when it's just so loud there. But I'm not going to pick Rutgers. I wouldn't be surprised if they win, if they pull the upset. I'm going to take Penn State. But this isn't my upset for the week, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rutgers beats Penn State. But I'm going to go with Penn State in this one. The next game we have is pivotal for both of these teams. We have Utah at Arizona. Um, I'm surprised that Arizona is ranked that far ahead. Like, I mean, they're at 17, Utah's at 22. I'm a little surprised with that. Not just because I'm a Utah fan, but just because I know Utah doesn't have an offense, but they've been in, besides the Oregon game, they've been in every single game this year. In Arizona, I mean, just I think it's just because of the momentum they have right now and how Jed Fisher has this team looking. I think that Utah will come away with a dub. I think Kyle Whittingham's going to have his team ready to go. I mean, I could see it's going to be a defensive battle. I think it's going to be like a 28-25 type of game, real gritty. It could come down to a last second field goal. I think Utah's defense is quite a bit better than Arizona's, but Fafita, the quarterback for Arizona, has this Arizona team looking totally different. I mean, Jaden Delora is a good quarterback, but they found a star in No Fafita. I just think that Utah's defense could be a little bit too much for Arizona. Given, I know Utah doesn't have an offense, but the way they moved the ball against Washington in the first half, if that team comes to play for a full 4 quarters, I don't see Arizona beating Utah. But if it's the Utah of the second half of the Washington game, Arizona's just gonna run all over Utah. But I'm gonna take Utah in this game. I'm pretty confident in it. Like I said, I see it coming down to it could be a last second field goal or a last second touchdown as time expires. It has that sort of game type of vibe, especially since it's down in Arizona. It's 12:30 kickoff, which I think benefits Utah because there's no Pac-12 after dark vibes down there. But I'm going to take Utah in that one. The next game I have is Kansas State and Kansas. I think Kansas State is gonna totally walk all over Kansas. I've been saying this all year. I don't think Kansas is that great of a football team. Yeah, they got that win over Oklahoma, but I think it's the same. You could say, I mean, Oklahoma State got a win over Oklahoma, and then they get blown out by 40 points to UCF. So I don't think Kansas deserved to even be ranked right now. Yeah, they had the win over Oklahoma, but the way Kansas State played Texas last week, I just think this team has a shot to make it to the Big 12 title game, especially if Oklahoma State loses some games coming down the stretch. So I'm going to take Kansas State. I think they win. It's like a double-digit win for Kansas State. I don't think it's going to be close. I think Kansas State's a little bit too physical for Kansas. And I think they're just going to walk all over them in that one. The third game I have, which is very interesting, is Washington at Oregon State. And if we look at this one, Oregon State's still right there in the Pac-12 title, especially if they win this game. And then if they win this game, they play Oregon next week. Which could be monumental for this program, especially how the Pac-12's ending up. It's the Pac-2 now with Oregon State and Washington State. They could send a big FU to the rest of the teams that are leaving the Pac-12, but I know Oregon State has a great defense, and I don't think their offense is that great. I don't think DJ Uyunglele, he's a good quarterback. I don't know if he's the solution. If Oregon State's going to win this game, they're going to have to get, I think, at least 3 sacks on Penix and force probably two turnovers. It's going to be all on that defense for Oregon State. They're not going to be able to win in a shootout. Yeah, I know they beat Stanford by 50 points last week, but that's Stanford. I don't think Oregon State, especially Washington State's defense isn't great, but it's a lot better than Stanford's. But I think if Oregon State wants to win this game, they're going to have to get pressure. I mean, we saw it last week. Utah didn't get a bunch of sacks, but they got pressure to Penix. And as long as they don't get beat on the deep bombs, that's when Washington's putting up 60 points, is when Penix is just hitting those deep bombs after deep bombs. They're not gonna. He's not a Bo Nix. Washington's offense isn't built for these 5-10 yard in routes, quick 2-second passes. Washington's all about the big plays. So if Oregon State wants to win, they're gonna have to get pressure on them. I'm gonna take Washington in this one. I just think their offense is gonna be a little too much. Given the game is at Oregon State, and Corvallis Riser Stadium is a tough place to play. Utah went there earlier in the year and lost, and it's a really tough place. It's going to be a night game too. I mean, every stadium's totally different at night, but I just think Michael Penix, he's in the Heisman. This could be his Heisman defining game. If you're looking at it, especially Oregon State's ranked 11th. If they win this game, they're going to cruise past Washington State next week. So this is a Heisman defining game for Penix, and I think he's going to shine. I don't see Oregon State beating them, so I'm going to lock in on Washington. I'm pretty confident in that. And then the last game I have here is Louisville and Miami. What I watched from this Louisville team last week against Virginia, they're not as good as I thought they were. And Miami, man, I thought Florida State was just going to walk all over Miami, and Miami had their moments to win that game against Florida State. So this is my big upset. I'm fully locked in on Miami. I don't think Louisville is that great of a team, especially it's at Miami. I don't know, man. I just think Miami's might be a little bit too tough, especially we saw two totally different teams when Louisville looked like they never played football when they played Virginia. And the Miami, I mean, they went toe-to-toe with the fourth best team based on the rankings in the country. So I'm pretty confident Miami will get the upset in this game. And that's when it gets pretty interesting in the ACC, because if we look at it, if Louisville loses this game, then the tiebreaker is a little weird. Well, it's not weird. I like the tiebreaker in the ACC. First, it goes to head-to-head, whoever played. But North Carolina and Louisville didn't play this year. Louisville beat NC State and they beat Virginia Tech. So those two are pretty much eliminated, just because this is Louisville's last conference game. But if North Carolina can win out, given they play Clemson, I don't think they're going to beat Clemson. I think Clemson beats them. But if North Carolina can beat Clemson and then win their last ACC conference game, they're going to be in the ACC title game against Florida State, which is really interesting. I thought it was going to be clear-cut Louisville and Florida State, but after watching what I saw last week, I don't see Louisville beating Miami. So I'm going to lock in with Miami. And then the ACC could get pretty interesting, given I don't think any of these teams can beat Florida State. I'm not saying that I don't think Florida State's that great of a team. I just think they are the best team in the ACC. But that's not saying much, because the ACC is not a very strong conference this year. But the race could get pretty interesting, because the other tiebreaker doesn't even matter, because it goes based off of, so Louisville and North Carolina could be tied in the standings, and it goes based off of the second team. So if there's two teams tied for second, whoever is higher in the rankings, in the CFB playoff rankings, gets to go in. And if North Carolina beats Clemson, and then Louisville loses to Miami, I could see Miami or Louisville dropping quite a bit. And North Carolina should jump them if they can beat Clemson. So that's when it gets pretty interesting. But let me know what you guys think about my picks down in the comments. I'm pretty confident in some of them. The only one I'm a little iffy on is the Utah-Arizona game. I think that could go either way. Like I said, it's going to come down to a last-second score, I think. But, it's Friday. I hope you guys all have a great cheat day. We got football on tonight. There's basketball, college basketball, NBA. Go grab a cheeseburger. Go grab a sliced pizza. Tell somebody you love them. And we'll catch you guys later. Peace.